AITA for telling my best friend. Her fiancé has been messaging me, even though he said it was just friendly and asked me not to tell. I never thought I'd be the friend who broke up a wedding, but for 6 months, my best friend's fiancé texted me late at night. "You're the only one who really gets me. Wish I'd met you first." She doesn't understand my dreams like you do. When I asked him to stop, he said, "It's not cheating, it's emotional honesty. And please, don't tell Lena, she'd overreact." I stayed silent until 2 weeks before the wedding, when Lena casually said, "Mark told me to seat you far from the head table. He says you get weirdly intense around him." That's when I realized his honesty wasn't vulnerability, it was grooming. And I was already cast as the unstable one, just in case I spoke up. So I showed her the messages. She read them in silence and called off the wedding the next day. Now everyone says I ruined a good relationship over a few harmless texts, but Lena hasn't spoken to Mark since. And last week she handed me a coffee and said quietly, "Thank you for not letting me marry a ghost." Lena and I met in college during a rainstorm. She lent me her umbrella, then insisted we share a coffee to dry off properly. We've been inseparable ever since. Through breakups, job losses, my messy divorce 2 years ago. When she got engaged to Mark last spring, I cried happy tears. He seemed kind, attentive, the kind of man who remembered her favorite flower, peonies, and held doors without making a show of it. The texts started a month after the engagement party. I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed. "Hey, it's Mark. Hope you don't mind me reaching out." I didn't. He was family now, but his next message gave me pause. "Lena's amazing, but sometimes I just need to talk to someone who's been through real life." I knew he meant my divorce. I typed back carefully, "I'm flattered, but maybe talk to a therapist or Lena." He replied instantly, "She thinks love is all fairy tales. You know it's messy. Can I just vent for a sec?" I should have said no, but I didn't want to seem cold, so I listened. For weeks, he sent messages that hovered just inside the line. Never explicit. Always intimate. "You'd never let someone treat you the way she lets me get away with things. If we'd met first, I wouldn't be so lost. Sometimes I wonder if you're the one I was supposed to end up with." Each time I shut it down. "You're engaged. This isn't fair to her." Or simply, "Please stop." He'd apologize. Promise it wouldn't happen again. Then 3 days later, "Can't sleep. Mind if I just sit with you for a minute?" I never flirted back, never encouraged him. But I didn't block him either. Part of me, a foolish part, thought maybe he just needed to process his doubts, that if I listened long enough, he'd work through it and go back to loving Lena properly. Then came the seating chart. 2 weeks before the wedding, Lena asked me to help finalize guest placements. We sat at her kitchen table, laptops open, wine glasses half full. She scrolled through the list and chuckled. "Mark already gave me his notes. Said to put you at table 7, far from the head table." I froze. "Why?" She shrugged. "Said you get weirdly intense around him, like you're judging him or something." My stomach dropped, because I'd never acted strangely around him. Never glared, never avoided him, never made a scene. But in his narrative, I was already the problem. The unstable friend who couldn't handle his honesty. That's when I understood. This wasn't about connection. It was about control. He needed Lena to doubt me, so that if I ever spoke up, she'd dismiss me as jealous or bitter. And maybe she would have, if I hadn't shown her the proof. I didn't plan to. I almost left that day without saying anything. But as I packed up my laptop, she looked at me with tired eyes and said, "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" I took a breath, pulled out my phone, scrolled to the thread, handed it to her. "I didn't want to hurt you," I said, "but you deserve to know what he's been saying behind your back." She read in silence. Her face didn't crumble. It hardened, like someone waking from a long dream. She didn't yell, didn't cry. Just closed my phone, set it down gently, and said, "I'm calling it off." The fallout was immediate. Mark texted me within the hour. "How could you? I trusted you." As if trust meant silence. As if loyalty meant complicity. Lena's mom called the next morning, voice trembling. "Those were just words. Jess, you didn't have to destroy everything." A cousin posted vaguely on Instagram about fake friends who weaponize insecurity. Even mutual friends slid into my DMs. Was it really necessary? But Lena never wavered. She returned the ring that afternoon, unfollowed Mark everywhere, and for 3 days, she didn't leave her apartment except to walk her dog. I checked in daily. Not with questions, just groceries, soup, clean towels. On the 4th day, she opened the door, eyes red but clear. "I keep rereading the messages," she said, trying to convince myself I misread them. "You didn't," I said. "He made me feel crazy for doubting him," she whispered. Every time I felt uneasy, he'd say, "You're imagining things. Jess is just jealous." That stung, because I'd never once expressed jealousy, but in his version, I was the villain waiting in the wings. We spent the afternoon sorting through wedding returns. The dress went back unopened. The cake deposit was non-refundable, but the florist gave her store credit. As we packed up centerpieces, she stopped me. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was scared you wouldn't believe me." I admitted. Or that you'd think I wanted him. She shook her head. I know you better than that. But the damage wasn't just to her trust in Mark. It was to her trust in herself. For months, she'd ignored her gut because he'd framed her intuition as insecurity. A week later, she started therapy. Not because she was broken, but because she wanted to rebuild her sense of self without his narrative clouding it. Meanwhile, Mark moved on fast, posted gym selfies with captions like "new chapter," started dating someone from his office. At a mutual friend's birthday party, he cornered me near the snack table. "You stole my future," he said quietly. "No," I said. "You lied your way into it." I just handed her the mirror. He walked away, but not before muttering, "She'll come back, they always do." I hoped he was wrong, because Lena deserved more than a man who needed to rewrite reality to feel secure. 3 months after the canceled wedding, Lena invited me hiking, their original honeymoon trail. We walked in comfortable silence for miles, boots crunching on pine needles, sun filtering through the trees. Halfway up, she stopped at a lookout point and turned to me. "I ran into his new girlfriend last week." "Oh?" She asked if it was true you sabotaged their relationship. "What did you say?" I told her Jess gave me a choice. "He took it away." I smiled faintly. "Good answer." She sat on a rock, pulling a thermos from her pack. "I used to think love meant overlooking flaws. Now I know it means refusing to ignore red flags just because the view is pretty." We sipped tea, watching clouds drift over the valley. "He texted me last month," she said. "Said he misses my kindness, and?" I didn't reply. Kindness isn't a doormat. That's when I knew she was truly free. She didn't hate him, didn't obsess. She just saw him clearly and chose herself. Last week, she started a new job in another city. Before she left, we had dinner at our old spot, the diner where we celebrated every milestone. "I'm not saying thank you again," she said, stirring her coffee, "but I need you to know. You didn't ruin my wedding. You saved me from a lifetime of wondering if I was enough." I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You were always enough. He just needed you to doubt it so he could feel superior." She nodded. "And you? Are you okay?" I thought about it. I used to worry I'd lost friends over this, but the ones who mattered stayed. And the rest? They weren't really friends. We laughed, a real light sound I hadn't heard from her in over a year. Mark still posts online, still frames himself as the wounded hero. But Lena doesn't follow him, doesn't care. She's building a life that doesn't require performance. No script, no roles, just truth and me. I finally deleted the message thread, not because I forgot, but because I don't need proof anymore. The truth isn't in screenshots. It's in who shows up when the fairy tale ends. And Lena? She's learning to write her own story now. One honest sentence at a time. As we left the diner, she hugged me tight. "Next time you see a red flag," she whispered, "wave it proudly." I smiled. "Always."